Okay, hello. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about Ipet Goat and the connection to, or at least the prediction within that animation of Donald Trump's ear wound, and the idea that, again, people being fooled by that thing. Okay, what I like to call the Heinz 57 event. Okay. It's just so staged, it's unbelievable. Um, anyway, why am I doing this video now? Well, I've just in the past few days, I've done some connections to Jaws in Back to the Future. In fact, I posted a couple of Jaws connections, and it's really tying back to this. This is the video here, Back to the Future, Jaws 19. Really tying back to this scene in Back to the Future 2. Okay, and there's another little reference with him on the water ski. And there's probably more references in there. I just haven't had time to really sit and go back through it. Okay, but this connection with Jaws 19, and we're looking at the date 19 at the minute for something big to happen. And then I did another video on the Jaws symbolism where I talked a little bit, because it's extremely hard to try and get all this information out in just a nice sort of little short format. So I had to do a little bit longer video, and in this video I mentioned, let's put the thing on because I can do it real quick. I mentioned that that in this scene here we have the reference to also to Donald Trump's ear wound. Yeah. Okay. So here's the ear. This is the Western auto sign is the shape of an ear. We have the bolt of lightning shooting across the road here towards the ear, and it's going to shoot through the ear here. Okay, depending on, of course, you can fast forward this a little bit or reverse it a little bit, rewind it a little bit, and you can get to where this line is connecting up with the ear a little bit better. And what we end up with is, it's easy to see there now, is you end up with this thing is so you end up with the 9, the 1, and the 4 in here, and that event took place on the 194th day of the year. Okay, and so if we look at the calendar, we can see that this is the connection I made with Jaws, is the fact that if we look at June the 20th, which is the release date for Jaws, okay, we can see that it's on the 171st day of the year, 194 days left to go. And then if we go to Donald Trump's ear wound, which is July the 13th, we can see it's 194 days into the year and 171 days to go. So they're twin dates. Okay, just as you have 9/11 twinned with the Queen's birthday. Okay, that kind of idea. Anyway, in those two videos, I'm grateful to this guy, because without his sort of input here, I wouldn't be doing this video for sure. This guy Robert here, or this channel Robert, left a link to this video of his, and it's about Shark Week and the connections to this scene in Ipet Goat 2. And so we're going to go through this now, and I'm just going to point out that this could also be, could also be a reference to Donald Trump's ear wound in this particular scene. And something that he points out in his decode, or his observation here, is that George Bush here is pointing towards the shark and Florida here. Okay, and this is the bit where he's got the dunce cap on, and he's saying I won't get fooled again. Okay, and if you've that whole shooting event, the Heinz 57 event, was complete nonsense. Okay, but there's a number of people that believe it. So anyway, what I want to do now is I want to take that element of what Robert was saying here about this, pointing towards these two things, and we're going to go through what is here, and we're going to talk about the connection to Donald Trump's ear wound. Now, Donald Trump, as I just said, got his ear wound in connection to, in fact, I can just draw on here, to Jaws. Okay, so we know the ear wound is in connection to Jaws, right? Because we know it's on the twin date of the release of Jaws. Notice that it's kind of interesting that we have the ear shape here, and then of course Jaws right here, and that whole, well, CC, look at that reverse CC there, and obviously 3-3, the idea of death and resurrection. But this idea of this shape being re-referenced, doubling down on a shape here, okay, and it's almost as if he's just getting ready to take a bite out of the ear here, and that when you look at a shark, the nature. I mean, I know this is very loose. Okay, it'll get better than this. Hang on. But the bullet flying through is very reminiscent of a kind of a shark shape. It's very aerodynamic, or that kind of idea. So this idea right here. Okay. Then we've also got we've got the pointing going on here, pointing up right here. Okay. And what's important about that pointing is let's just go to Ipet Go. What you'll notice is that in this particular part of the scene, and in fact it's probably better than this, he's if you look at the way he's pointing, it's almost like, this is almost like a gun shape here, except we just have that pinky out as well. But this is almost like the shape you would make if you were when you were a kid playing Cowboys and Indians, that sort of gun shape, getting ready to shoot somebody. So he's doing this here with his sort of, where he's turning around, pointing the gun at everybody. Okay, that's important because he continues this same thing here with pointing up at this and pointing up at this. Right. So anyway, so what is he pointing at? Okay, and so we have the shark connection. We have him pointing up twice. Don't get fooled again. He's turned his head sideways, revealing his ear. And we also have this connection to Florida. And I know what people are shouting out. They're shouting out this. Mar-a-Lago, yeah? Okay, which is Donald Trump's resort down in Florida. Okay, now, if you watch Jurassic Liars, if you watch old Garrow, he's talked about this shape of this thing before, okay, of Florida, right? And what he mentions is that if you take, if you just draw around the edge of this, okay, what you end up with is, and you put a face on here. Hang on a minute. Oh, hang on. So you draw around here, and what this is the shape. Not very good. Of, put an eye in here and put a mouth. Excuse me. This is the shape of Donald Trump's hair. Okay, and not only that, it is also the shape of, if I put a trigger in here, it's also the shape of a gun, about getting ready to shoot right here. Okay, so you got two things in the shape of Florida. Donald Trump's hairdo and the gun. That's courtesy of Jurassic Liars, this stuff. But it is very interesting, like if I'd drawn this correctly, if I'd actually drawn this correctly and actually put the nose coming down a bit further and coming down here, we could put the ear here, and Mar-a-Lago, which has got the dot right here, it is interesting that it's referencing down towards the ear that would be on Donald Trump's head here. Okay, so you know, when we're going back to this and we're seeing that there's a dot down here, probably might be Mar-a-Lago. Okay, so this connection to the gun, to Donald Trump's, you know, the location of his ear, right on the map, so to speak, on his, you know, where his hair would be. We've got George turning sideways to reveal the ear. We have this idea, you know, re-emphasized with the shape of the mouth of the shark. And again, up here we have the shooter, which is the male shooter, yeah, and you can see that the shot is coming down towards where it would hit the ear here. You know, the trajectory of the shot from the, again, another shooter coming down to hit the ear here. Okay, so these are the connections to, so this is essentially a prediction they put in Ipet Go, I believe. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to show you here? No, I mean, we can come through, you know, look, he's definitely doing the shooting thing. If that would pause, now it won't pause. Oh dear, oh dear. It's because I'm not on. Hang on, let's get this off of here. Get rid of that. So there he's doing his shooting thing, and then he's doing the pointing towards this, the pointing towards this, as Robert pointed out. And then we've got the shooter here coming down towards the ear. We've got the ear. We've got the ear re-emphasized. It's the word I'm looking for. We've got Mar-a-Lago here. We've got Florida, the shape of Donald Trump's hair. They've even put it in the right color on the map, the sort of yellowy color. What else have we got? Oh, we've got the building burning in the background here. So when he's, so obviously this whole thing is to do with 9/11, you know, my pet goat and being in the classroom. And so we have the building in the background burning, which could be a million other references as well, but it could reference the towers burning. And so let's do one last thing, and that is, let's go from the release date of Jaws, yeah, which is the twin date for Donald Trump's ear wound. Let's go from then through to the ear wound, okay? So 6/20/1975 through to 7/13/2024, and this is the numbers we get. There's your alternate numbers: 49 years, 23 days, 17,921 days. Let's click on it. Hopefully it works. Yes. And lo and behold, we're at the 2054th prime number, yeah? The 254th day of the year was 9/11, so this ties us back nicely again, back to 9/11 and that particular scene with the dunce himself, okay? And the 9/11 building, the tower burning in the background, okay? Maybe the tower burning in the background. We know this connects to 9/11 anyway with this dude. So, super duper interesting. I haven't got any more. That's about it. Hope you enjoyed that. And again, thanks. Go check out Robert's video. And yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching. Alright, I'll catch you on another one soon. Cheers. Bye bye.